The LinkedIn Podcast Network is sponsored by TIAA. TIAA makes you a retirement promise, a promise of a guaranteed retirement paycheck for life. Learn more at TIAA.org/promises pay off.
LinkedIn presents.
Reframing our goals and rewriting our stories are powerful tools, and how you talk about your experience will dictate how you feel about them. The world is not objective. It's actually up to us. So why not be the hero of your own story? Being a hero is a choice you can make, not a cape someone else will drape over you. You make your own cape.
Hey everyone, it's Monday. I'm your host, Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, the show that gives you quick insights from the latest nonfiction books, making it effortless for you to get smarter while sipping your morning coffee. Just make sure you click follow in your podcast player to get our future episodes and sign up for our Book of the Day newsletter using the link in the episode notes. So, have you been watching the Summer Olympics? Me too. I'm into the kayaking, I'm into the archery, love me some badminton. So, to honor the games, I thought this week we'd listen to some book bites that celebrate the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Books by or about athletes sharing the wisdom gained in competition and how we can apply it to our ordinary non-Olympic lives. So first up, let's start with an honest-to-goodness Olympian. Alexi Pappas ran the 10K distance in the 2016 Games in Rio. She's also a filmmaker and an award-winning writer whose work has appeared in the New York Times, Runner's World, Women's Running, Sports Illustrated, The Atlantic, and Outside Magazine. She's written a remarkable memoir about overcoming obstacles like her mother's suicide and her own depression, finding female role models, and becoming what Alexi calls a Bravey, a person with the courage to chase after goals despite what life throws in the way. Her book is called Bravey, Chasing Dreams, Befriending Pain, and Other Big Ideas, and our curator Adam Grant calls it an arresting debut by a gifted writer. Here's Alexi.
After I competed in the Rio Olympics and had the experience of a lifetime, running a personal best and setting a national record in the 10K, I became depressed. It's not uncommon for Olympians to feel a sort of post-Olympic depression, however mild or severe. It makes sense. You've worked your whole life towards this one singular goal, and suddenly it's over. The feeling is sharp and disorienting. In mild forms, post-Olympic depression is like a ledge. For me, it was a cliff. When I started feeling depressed, I feared the worst. My mom died by suicide when I was 4 years old, and I've always been afraid that there's an invisible timer in my head that will one day run out, and I'll be doomed to end up like her. I thought maybe there was something wrong with me. Then I met Dr. Arpaia, a neurologist and psychiatrist who changed my perspective and also changed my life. He explained that my depression was like when you fall and have a scrape on your knee, except instead of the cut being on your knee, it's on your brain. Your brain is a body part that can get injured just like any other, and it can also heal just like any other. Once I realized that, I felt empowered because I felt like I could get better. My shame and self-loathing went away, and I could focus on healing. I saw Dr. Arpaia 3 times a week, just like I might see a physical therapist 3 times a week if I really did hurt my leg. And I stopped beating myself up so much, understanding that just like an injury on my leg, this injury on my brain wasn't going to heal overnight. If we can understand that our brain is a body part and start thinking about mental therapy as just another version of physical therapy, then we can spark a profound change in the way our culture views mental health. We can begin seeing our minds the same way that athletes see their bodies. When I first started training at high altitude in my build-up to the Olympics, I'd often find myself feeling exhausted by the time I showed up to training in the morning. Doing my normal morning routine of picking my clothes, making breakfast, and chatting with my teammates during the van ride to the track left me drained for the actual workout. At first, I just blamed the altitude, but then I read a book called Willpower by Roy Baumeister and John Tierney, which says that willpower, our ability to make good choices and be effective at what we do, is a measurable and depletable resource. We make thousands of choices every day, and each of those choices uses up some portion of our willpower. Once I started becoming conscious of my own willpower and then protective of it, two things happened. One, I became kinder to myself when my willpower was low, and two, I realized how many little things drained my willpower every day. I started budgeting my willpower. I put in headphones instead of socializing on the way to the track, and I prepared breakfast and laid out my clothes the night before. I couldn't believe how much of a difference this small change made. To qualify for the Olympics, it is important to become a master of pain. But just because I have a high tolerance for pain doesn't mean I enjoy it. When I went to college and started training to compete at the Division I level, intense pain became a part of my daily routine. Every morning, I woke up dreading the inevitable pain to come, and it became clear that if I wanted to survive as a college runner, pain and I had to come to a new understanding. I thought back to middle school, when I got into a fight with this girl I really didn't get along with. When our teacher finally intervened, she quarantined us in a room called the pod for an hour to figure things out, just us two 11-year-old girls. My adversary and I spent a good 45 minutes in silence, glaring at each other from under our unibrows. But in the end, we agreed that while we didn't want or need to be friends, we could be civil for both of our sakes. I resolved to be similarly civil with pain. Before my races and workouts, I worked on consciously shifting my mental energy from dreading upcoming pain to simply recognizing that the pain would always show up no matter what. And even though I utterly despised it, I should try to greet it politely, like a guest at a dinner party. Once I made that shift, the pain didn't hurt any less, but its edge was gone because I had accepted that it was coming. I've found this approach to be applicable to all different types of pain, challenge, or other unpleasantness that life can bring. We can't erase pain completely, and we certainly don't have to like it, but we can learn to expect and accept it. I ran my first marathon, the Chicago Marathon, about 2 years after the Rio Olympics. Those 2 years had been an arduous trek through depression and one injury after another. Still, my goal was to run somewhere around 2:30, faster than the current Olympic standard qualifying time. But about 10 miles in, I began to feel a weakness in my previously injured hamstring. By now, I was running several seconds per mile off pace, and I knew that running 2:30 would be impossible. So I decided that my new goal would be just to finish the race, no matter what. Crossing that finish line was such a tremendous challenge that I felt like I won a gold medal. After the race came the media gauntlet. I could tell that reporters were expecting me to feel upset at my result, but I reminded myself that I had not failed. I had reframed my original goal in light of a new reality. So instead of being disappointed when the reporters asked me about my time, I had a huge smile on my face. I made a conscious decision to focus on how proud I was of finishing rather than how disappointed I was at running a slower time. Reframing our goals and rewriting our stories are powerful tools, and how you talk about your experience will dictate how you feel about them. The world is not objective. It's actually up to us. So why not be the hero of your own story? Being a hero is a choice you can make, not a cape someone else will drape over you. You make your own cape. Being brave enough to chase goals that seem scary, goals we might not get, is a switch we can flip in our minds. Growing up, I chased specific labels: strong, fierce, fast, funny, pretty. But all of those labels were outward-facing. They described an energy you projected into the world. Being brave, or being a Bravey, is different. It's inward-facing, a choice you make about the relationship with yourself. We all have dreams that we're chasing, however big or small, and we can all decide to be brave enough to give ourselves a chance. Anyone can be a Bravey, and the permutations of what that means are infinite. That's what being a Bravey is. You're making a conscious choice to tell yourself what you'd like to be until it becomes part of you. You choose to replace can't with maybe by acknowledging your feelings but focusing on your actions. Your actions encompass everything from what you do with your time to who you surround yourself with and the words you feed your mind. To know you can do this for yourself is the most powerful thing in the world.
All right, that's our show for today. If you liked it, how about leaving us a rating and review in your podcast player? And if you didn't like it, we'll come back tomorrow and see what you think then. We're going to be talking about a subject near and dear to my own heart, aging athletes. Author Stephen Kotler will join us to explain how just because your body's getting older, pushing it to its limits on the track or the slopes is still possible and maybe even good for you. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.